Yes, Dr. Nitin, you can start. Yeah.
All right. Good evening, everyone. So today's topic is about ChatGPT and how you can leverage AI for bettering your communication and improving the language. So here's what I have planned to do. Um, so we'll cover this session in 6 parts. First part, I'll talk about GPT, where I'll talk about what GPT is, what are the capabilities, how does it work, what are the benefits of GPT. Then we'll focus on how ChatGPT can be utilized for communication. So it can be used for written communication, it can help in improving the English language, and likewise. I'll give you a quick demo. If you are in front of your laptops and you have the access to ChatGPT, we can do small hands-on as well, or I can give you the ideas that you can try out later as well. Then we'll focus on the best practices and the ethical considerations when you are using ChatGPT or GPT for that matter. And then we'll all briefly focus on what is the future of AI in the communication space. And lastly, how SAS Foundation can help. So before we go there, a little introduction about myself. I run my own NGO. The name of the NGO is Swavalamban Evam Swabiman Foundation. In short, it's called SAS Foundation. We focus on youth and we focus on education, health, environment, and community development. As part of education, we focus on bridging the gap between the academia and the industry. And these sessions are part of such initiatives. We really want our youth to be, upskilled with the latest technologies, newer technologies, how they can incorporate in their daily life, in their working, etc. That's the motto. And we regularly do these sessions, and it's a great opportunity that we have collaborated with Shehan Tech, and we are delivering these sessions along with them. So, without much wait, let's go into ChatGPT. You must have heard this term ChatGPT. You must have accessed also. So, this ChatGPT is nothing but a AI model which was developed by OpenAI, and OpenAI is one of the leading research organizations which works primarily in the field of AI and machine learning. And this ChatGPT is quite a significant advancement in the NLP technology. NLP means natural language processing, which has enabled the machines to understand and generate the human-like text. So you can do it on your laptop, you can do it on your mobile, you can integrate in your applications, business applications, and leverage the power of ChatGPT wherever you want. Now, a little bit more about this OpenAI. It's a relatively newer organization, and it is known for its groundbreaking work that they have done in AI research and development. It was founded somewhere in 2015, and this organization is, dedicated to advancing the AI in a safe and beneficial manner for the humanity. They have a team of researchers, engineers, experts who have contributed to various innovative projects. ChatGPT is just one of the um, ChatGPT is just one of the flagship achievements that they have achieved. Now, this ChatGPT is actually based on GPT architecture, or to be more specific, it is currently on GPT-4 architecture. So OpenAI has been working on this AI field for quite some time. They had GPT 2.5, they had GPT 3, 3.5, and currently GPT 4 architecture. And specifically, the current ChatGPT that you use is based on GPT 4 architecture, which is the fourth iteration of GPT. I just now realized I have been using this word GPT without telling what does this GPT stands for. GPT actually stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, and we'll go a little more detail in the coming slides. What exactly is this Generative Pre-trained Transformers or the GPTs? Now, interesting thing about this architecture, it is characterized by its ability to efficiently process and generate text based on vast amount of the pre-existing data. Now, the pre-existing data is the data that was collected from the internet, and the LLM, which is the underlying system of ChatGPT, was trained on this humongous amount of data. Everything that we see on the internet prior to 2006 was fed into this model, so that this model learns everything about what we know across the world, and based upon that, it can generate, it can understand, it can interact in the text format that closely mimics the human language. So if you are chatting with your friend, the kind of responses you can expect is similar in ChatGPT. They will also give you the same response or similar responses, depending upon whether you want the professional responses or a casual response, or I mean, you can ask ChatGPT to act as whatever you want. The idea is using this ChatGPT 4, this GPT-4 architecture. ChatGPT is able to make a lot of applications, which is not only limited to natural language understanding, but also text generation and the interactive communication. If you have any of the questions, you can pose your questions in the chat. We'll take it up once we are done. But if you feel you are kind of lost and the question is quite important to be addressed at any particular point, you can unmute and ask the question. So let's understand what this GPT is. So as I said, GPT, it's an acronym which stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, and it actually encapsulates the functionalities and the architecture of this AI model, GPT-4. Now, this you can see three words: generative, pre-trained, and the transformer. The first word is a generative. What does this mean? It means that this GPT is capable of generating human-like text and human-like responses based upon what you give as the input to the GPT. Interestingly, it can create a coherent answer, contextually relevant content, which makes it very invaluable for various applications. For example, if you are needing any assistance with writing, or if you want to have a conversation generated, maybe for ad purposes, or if you want to send out a notice, want to write a letter, write an essay, whatever you want to do, it will be able to do that. The second word is the pre-trained. Now, as I said, these models are initially trained on vast amount of data. The LLMs, the large language models, they are typically, trained with a lot of information that is available on the internet, in the books, and whatever form of information is there, it's put into LLM. So it will have knowledge about the diverse topics, various writing styles. Each author has its own writing style. If you were to look at the research papers, they are written in a particular language, in a particular format. Whereas if you look at the essays that are written, those are written in a certain format. If you look at the ad scripts, those are written in a particular way. The movie scripts, the novels, all of them have their own style. So when these GPT models are pre-trained, it learns all those topics, it learns all those writing styles. Now what happens is it enables the model to learn the intricacy of the language. For example, if I were to say a particular sentence in pure Hindi, it would sound different. Whereas if I were to say same thing using English, I mean the mix of Hindi and English, it would sound different. And if I were to say the same thing in English, it would sound very different. The intricacies of the language, it is learned by the model, and it is able to mimic whenever it is required. So it develops a broad understanding of the context, grammar, and the semantics, so that whatever it is giving out as the output, it is understandable. It has some meaning attached to it. It's not just random sequence of words. Now, the third word into this GPT is transformer. Now, this transformer is basically the architecture that is utilized here. And it is nothing but a type of a neural network architecture, which was specifically designed to process the sequential data. like text. The transformers architecture, if you go into the history, it was introduced by Vaswani et al. They had written a paper which actually changed the entire way of thinking. And the name of the paper was Attention is All You Need. If you want, you can go to Google and read this paper. Very beautiful paper, very nicely written, and it brings and introduces this transformer architecture. Now, whatever we can do with the natural language, transformer enhances it very effectively. We can have effective parallelization. It can capture the long range dependencies with the text sequences. And I'll briefly explain you what is this long range dependencies mean. Um, all of these things that I'm talking about, it is actually being used by humans. If you look at humans, we are nothing but very, very, very sophisticated machines. As we teach our machines to learn about the intelligence, we do the same thing for humans as well. When you were kids, your parents taught how A looks like. It looks like two lines and then there is a crossing line. This is A. And it was taught multiple times. Teachers always told you A, you saw everything A looks like this, and that's how you learned this is A. How to make words. So the sequence of characters, those were taught to you that CAT is cat, um, whereas CHAT is chat, and likewise. So you learned how to sequence the characters to make meaningful words. Then you were taught how the words can be rearranged to make sentences. So you made small sentences that Ram is working in farm, Ram is a farmer, Ram teaches in the school, and likewise. Then you were introduced the grammar and punctuation. Then you realize the importance of commas and the full stops. A wrong comma can actually change the meaning of the sentence, and likewise. And that's how you learned. And today you are able to write long essays, long answers. Maybe some of you would be writing articles, blogs, maybe novels, and likewise. So that's how you have been trained. And similarly, the machines are also being trained. While these machines are not so sophisticated as human brain, but still they are catching up on all these things. So sorry, yeah. So GPT-4, as I said, there were other models of GPT as well. It started with GPT-1, then came GPT-2, 3, 3.5, then 4, and they're still working on making GPT-5 and likewise. The latest model, if you go to the chatgpt.com, you would find GPT-4o is being utilized by default. And there is also a GPT-4o mini. If you continuously use GPT-4o, it has a limitation that it cannot take 20. I mean, they are not giving it free for more than 20 interactions, and then it automatically switches to GPT-4 mini, which is mostly used for the daily work. But if you want to continuously use GPT-4o, which is more sophisticated and more intelligent than 4o mini, you'll have to pay the money and get the pro membership, and likewise. Uh, and you have to really play around to see how GPT-4o generates a response different from GPT-4o mini. There is a slight subtle difference. When you continuously use, you will figure out the differences. If you're using once in a while, you may not be able to see the differences. So GPT-1 was created somewhere in 2018. GPT-2 came in a year later in 2019. Then GPT-3 was brought in 2020, and GPT-4 today we have GPT-4o, and they are working on GPT-5 and likewise. So that's a brief history and a little bit about GPT. Now, if you look at the capabilities of ChatGPT, three things we can see. One is the natural language understanding. So you don't have to, ask your questions or the queries in a particular format. It can be a free-flowing text. Unlike SQL, where you have to follow the syntax and all those things, here you can just um, pose your question in a normal text as you would ask a question to your teacher or to your friend or to your parents or to anyone. You can just type in, and it will be able to comprehend, and it will be able to interpret your language, and it will be, be able to do the things based upon what input it is getting, closely mimicking the human understanding. It can then, analyze the context, the semantics, the intent behind what you have given as the input, and it can give you uh, very precise, contextually relevant and appropriate responses for the input that you have given. Then comes the text generation. So once you have given the input, it will be able to give you the coherent and contextually relevant text back to you. Whether it is, completing the sentences, writing the essays, writing a story, and uh, and interestingly, whatever text it is going to generate, it will be grammatically correct, coherent, and contextually appropriate most of the times. Okay, and there is a reason why I say most of the time, because even though the technology is advancing, the LLMs, ChatGPT, or whichever text model you are referring to, they tend to hallucinate if they don't have the right information, right? That is why training of these models is very, very important. So for general purpose, it will be giving you almost immediately consumable text that you can utilize in daily life. The third capability of ChatGPT is it can hold the conversation. It can hold the interaction with you. I mean, with the users. It can simulate the natural dialogue as you would chat with your friends. ChatGPT can also chat with you, giving you the answers, contextually relevant information, and likewise. It can respond to your questions, it can engage in discussions, and it can retain the context of this conversation. So if you have this conversation today, and tomorrow you want to carry on that conversation again on the same topic, it will maintain the history and understanding the context, intent across those topics, and will be able to carry on the conversations. Now, ChatGPT can, adapt based upon the responses, based upon the flow of the conversation. If you are chatting with your friend and friend says something which is kind of offensive and you don't want to hear, you tell your friend, hey, don't say this thing to me, it annoys me a lot, I don't want to hear this. So friend consciously avoids all those things. Similarly, ChatGPT does the same thing based upon what you like, what you don't like, and based upon the instructions that you will give. ChatGPT, can adapt its responses. If you want a very casual chat with them, it can be as casual. If you want a very formal conversation, it can do a formal conversation. Interestingly, you can actually use ChatGPT to train yourself and prepare yourself for the interviews. You can ask ChatGPT to become an interviewer on certain topic, and ask ChatGPT to ask the questions back to you, and then you will put the response, and it can analyze and it can give you the feedback whether the response was good enough to be selected, or you need to focus on certain things. So the the ability to use ChatGPT for various purposes is unlimited. You just have to be little creative, and you will be able to use ChatGPT in thousand ways in your daily life. All right. So because it can hold the conversation and interactions, it is very preferred for applications like creating the virtual assistants, or the customer support chatbots, or the language learning tools. Now, if you look at any of your bank website, almost all the bank websites, they have this virtual chatbot. You can actually ask the frequently asked questions to them, and most of the large banks, they are all powered by AI, and not necessarily ChatGPT, but they have LLM at the bank, at the back, and it gives you the coherent response based upon what you have asked. And it, that is why it is becoming very, very uh, preferred in banking industry and other industries as well. having the AI chatbot. You don't have to, put up the contact center, don't have to put dedicated people for customer support. And because it is a machine, it is 24 by 7 available. You don't have to wait that, okay, people will be available at 9 a.m. tomorrow and they'll be available only on weekends. This AI chatbot will always be available 24 by 7. So those were the capabilities of ChatGPT. Now let's look at how ChatGPT works. So few terms that you should know. One is pre-training, second is fine-tuning, and of course, since you are training using the data, so data sources and the learning process becomes very, very important. Now, pre-training is something which is done before it is made available for further use. So it undergoes the extensive pre-training. So when I said all of the internet information, the books, various articles, text-based information, whatever was available across the world that was fed into this model was actually the pre-training. So you give a lot of text-based data, books, articles, websites, whatever it is. So you give this information to the LLM, and LLM understands this, and it keeps it in the memory. And it also learns the nuances of the language because it is reading so many sentences. It understands what is the language pattern, what is that uh, what is that called, punctuation marks, where to put, when to put, in what situations it has to be put, what is the grammar to be followed, what is the syntax to be followed, what are the semantics, what's the context, and all those things. It will retain everything. Now this phase is very, very crucial for making ChatGPT have the knowledge necessary to generate any of the coherent and the contextually relevant responses. It's like it's like just your friend who knows everything. And then comes the part of fine tuning. Now, pre-training is giving all the information. It forms the foundation for the understanding of the language, whereas this fine-tuning will allow the model to, adapt to specific tasks and domains. For example, if I were to use ChatGPT for legal purposes, for legal interpretation, writing the legal cases, putting up the petition, and all those things, it has to be fine-tuned for that person, right? That is why we have specialized people. A doctor will be focusing only on the medical, an engineer would be focusing on the engineering aspect, a builder would be focused on making the buildings, and likewise similarly chat gpt also needs to be fine-tuned. It has to get the specialization so that it can give you the right information. While we use ChatGPT for general purposes, it is not fine-tuned in that sense. But when you make the applications in a particular domain, it has to be fine-tuned so that it is able to give you the right information. For example, if I were to give you a legal advice, I will give with a very limited knowledge, and it may not be irrelevant, it may not be correct. Whereas if you go to the lawyer, he will always give you the right information, and it would be correct. Similarly, if the ChatGPT is fine-tuned on the legal aspect, it will be able to make the legal recommendations accordingly. Um, Now, when you're doing fine-tuning, one is exposing the model to the very specific domain-related information. Also, your performance can be optimized based upon where you want to use this chat GPT. I'll again pick up the example of legal. If I were to pose more questions on legal than the cooking recipes, having fine-tuned for legal would be more relevant, because then it will be optimizing itself, it will be adapting to more legal stuff than looking at what all knowledge he has about the recipes and then discarding and then eventually coming to the legal aspect. So your responses will be accurate, they will be fast, and it will be very tailored to what you're asking. So those are the key things: pre-training and the fine-tuning. Any of the LLM that you're using, a large language model, they will be having these two phases. One is pre-training, dumping all of the information, and then fine-tuning based upon where you want to deploy this thing. Now, in this whole process, the data sources becomes very important, and the learning process also becomes very important. While you will give all the information from all the data sources, It could be the online platforms, the social media platforms, the proprietary data set, any of the text that is available. Now, by bringing all these diverse information together, ChatGPT, can understand and generate the text that is uh, which is very rich and of varied nature for human consumption, human language. The learning process is very important because, as I said, pre-training phase, you utilize the advanced ML algorithms, the machine learning algorithms. For example, in this case, the transformer will be utilized. The information will be fed into the transformer. It will analyze, it will extract the patterns from this input data, and it will retain this information. Now, these algorithms, it enables this model to, capture the complex relationship between the words. I mean, that is what we say, the grammar, and there's another word, the flow of the answers, the flow of the text that will be generated. So those complex relationships, it is able to extract and learn, and it can retain. So whenever it is needed, it will recall, okay, I need a formal response. This is how I should be writing. I need a casual response. These are the things I can exclude, and it can be a general statement like that. And interestingly, as you interact more and more with the chat gpt learns more and more about the language, the way of talking, the way of giving the response, and it improves, so that every time you get the response, it will now generate the high quality text rather than just random text. So when you combine pre-training along with fine tuning, and you are leveraging diverse data sources, um, ChatGPT is able to give you very good proficient answers, understanding and generating the natural language. So that's why it becomes very preferred for written communication, writing assistance, language learning, and likewise. So that was the very high level how ChatGPT is actually working and what goes behind before this is made available to you. I'll give you an example how ChatGPT actually puts up the coherent answers. So there is a large text corpus that you can see on the left bottom corner. From the large text corpus, I have given one input, and the question I have asked is the Trevi fountain is in the center of dash. Now, what ChatGPT will do, it will take the sentence, it will go into the language model, I mean the transformer, it will go and fetch what is that I know about this thing from the vast information that was fed into the ChatGPT. And then it will use certain algorithms to figure out the answers. For example, it can search for the beam search sampling, or it can use the greedy sampling. Whichever algorithm it is using, it will then come up with the options. What options do I have? So it comes back with two options, Rome and Buenos Aires. But again, since machine has to make a decision, what is the right answer, what is the most probable answer, so the probability scores are attached whenever the responses are returned back by the model. So the model sees, okay, Rome has the probability of 96%, Buenos Aires has the probability of 0.1%. Rome seems to be the right answer, and then it will give you the answer back that the fountain is in the center of Rome. This is just one example how it fetches the information and gives the answer. Formation of sentences also works in the similar way. It will retain the context. It will first put the starting word, whether the sentence has to start with a the, or it has to be start with a or it has to start with an, etc. And then it will see, based upon this context, what is the probability of the next word. Based upon what responses it comes highest probability, it will start forming the sentences by putting the words again and again. Context has to be retained while it is forming the sentences, and that's how it gives you the contextually relevant answers. All right. Now, what are the benefits of using ChatGPT? So, it is very good at holding the conversation. It can give you the contextually relevant answers. It can give you the coherent answers, and it can give you in the text format. So it is very beneficial in writing projects. It's very efficient in writing. It streamlines the writing process. It gives you the instant suggestions. It can generate the text-based um, on prompts. I mean, whatever inputs that you are giving to the chat GPT, those are called prompts. And how you write the prompt also decides what you will get. It is just like you have an assistant and you say, I need tea. So assistant will bring tea until unless you specify, I need tea without sugar. There are chances that you will get the tea with sugar. As and when you become very precise on the prompts, get me a tea with Taj Mahal tea leaves, with cow milk and no sugar, and put some elaichi and all those things, you will get what you are actually expecting to get. But if you give a generic statement, there are chances that it may not match what you are um, intending to get from ChatGPT. Similarly, prompt engineering is one field that is upcoming quite fast, and there are organizations as well as the academic institutes. They are releasing the courses on the prompt engineering itself. Because as you work into the larger organizations where the ChatGPT are being used, prompt engineering becomes very, very crucial. What is the prompt that you need to put so that you get the answer first time right, rather than fine tuning the prompt in 2, 3 passes, 4 passes, and likewise. So it is very efficient. It's very useful for writers. They can save time on brainstorming, drafting, editing, whatever they are writing, novel, articles, etc. And ChatGPT can quickly, give you the coherent and contextually relevant content. I'll share one example how I utilize ChatGPT in one of the instances. We are planning to, release a new product into the market, and I'm not sure what should be the name of the product. It has to have the essence of what is this product going to offer to my users, what are the benefits, etc. But I'm still not sure what is the right word, what is the compelling word that I should be using. So I put all that information to ChatGPT, give the entire context. This is the product, this is the product is going to do, these are the benefits the user are going to get. Suggest me 10 compelling names that will be accepted by the users, and it gives me the 10 options. Here are the options. So it's very, very powerful. If you use it in the right way, giving the right context, writing the right prompts, you will get the answers instantly, and you can save time. You can bring out your creativity along with the chat GPT's creativity, and do wonderful works. So writers typically use this chat GPT, to refine their ideas. They have a very vague idea. Okay, my storyline looks like this, and I want to have this climax and this, etc. How do I refine the idea? How can I make compelling narratives that they utilize it quite a lot. Then comes the enhanced creativity. When you have some vague ideas and you want to create diverse and creative responses that can spark new ideas, new perspectives, you can use ChatGPT. You as a kid, I had thousands of the ideas that world is struggling with this, why don't you try this, without knowing whether it is possible or not. For example, once I thought uh, renewable energy was one of the things, because there is a shortage of coal and all those things. I thought, why don't we join a dynamo and the motor together? Dynamo is running, it's generating the electricity. You feed this in electricity back to the motor, and motor is also running, and it's running the dynamo. It can be infinite loop. Why are people so dumb? Without realizing whatever I was thinking had a loop, and it cannot work in the real life. So all those things you can actually validate with ChatGPT, because it has more knowledge than you have acquired in your lifetime, because we are only single person, whereas ChatGPT has the knowledge of 8 billion minds together in whatever form and shape we have seen the articles, blogs, etc., etc. So writers can, can leverage this chat GPT to overcome a writer's block. It's one of the phenomenon the writers are very um, face it every now and then. The writer's block, they tend to, block into a particular situation and they're not able to think beyond that. So, and they cannot think of any unconventional things. So ChatGPT can break those writer's block and bring in the unconventional concepts, adding more innovativeness, more engaging content, and likewise. So um, now that the digital landscape is becoming so crowded, if you just look at the LinkedIn, there are people who are writing the blogs every now and then. They're generating content. Now the video is also there. People are creating the videos, shorts. So the digital landscape has become crowded. How do you stand out? What creativity you need to show to stand out in that rush? ChatGPT can certainly help you, and it can actually push you beyond the boundaries of your creativity and uh, force you to think beyond what you are actually thinking right now. And lastly, the benefit is you can get the personalized communication. As I said, you can write letters, you can write notices. Again, it depends on what input you are giving, and it will give you the personalized experience for the readers. And you can, and I'll give you also one more example. Since I'm running my NGO, I have to announce the work that we are doing. So I have to announce it in various social media channel, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on to YouTube, and likewise. So I need a language which is more compelling in each of those social media. I cannot use the LinkedIn language in Facebook. Certainly, nobody is going to read that and get excited about it. And I cannot use the language that I'm using in Facebook, same as in Instagram, because the audiences are different. I need to give the tailored message based upon which media channel I'm going to use. So ChatGPT can help. If I tell ChatGPT, hey, I need this content for Facebook, then it will create the content according to the Facebook. And if I say I need a tweet for Twitter, so Twitter, it has a limitation of the certain characters that I can tweet at any given point of time, unless I have the pro version of that. So it will give me the concise essence of what I want to say in just one tweet, and probably a few hashtags as well, that this is what you put. So this personalization approach, when you take it, gets you deeper engagement. You can have the connection between your audience and yourself. It can lead to more meaningful interactions and very meaningful relationships. So those are some of the benefits of using ChatGPT. Sorry. So again, I mean, this is more emphasizing on writing assistant. So you can generate the ideas, you can draft the content, and you can do the editing and the proofreading. I recently used ChatGPT, wherein had to create one document which I created in bits and pieces and created this entire big document. And then I fed this to ChatGPT asking, hey, can you proofread this thing? And after proofreading, it came back with the suggestions. Hey, you didn't specify uh, this thing here, or can you be more clearer here, or this doesn't sound grammatically correct, and likewise. So those are the ways that you can utilize ChatGPT for writing assistance, especially the editing and proofreading. It can identify the errors. It can also suggest you the alternative phrasing. I mean, as writers, you can polish your work, bringing it to the professional standards before it is sent for publication, and likewise. Then moving on, you can use ChatGPT for communicating. So when I say communicating, you can have the interactive conversation, hold the conversation, formal conversations, informal conversations. You can practice your conversational skills. Um, for example, if you're learning about how to professionally respond to emails, You can always give the context and say, this is what I'm going to write to my customer or my user or my senior or my boss and all those things. Does it sound okay or not okay? Interestingly, no, but I mean, if you were to share this with your friend, they will start judging you and they will think something about you. Whereas if you give this to ChatGPT will be non-judgmental and it will be, giving you a non-biased answer. You can use it for role playing scenarios. You can get the advice and the suggestions. This is more relevant when you have a fine tuned LLM. Getting the advice and suggestions. General advice and suggestions you can always get from ChatGPT, but if it is, for example, for legal or for medical purposes, then it has to be a fine tuned ChatGPT rather than for general purposes. So these are some of the ways how you can communicate with ChatGPT. Then you can use this for language learning. You can improve your English language. When I was in college, I was not very fluent in English, and it was a big struggle for me. What I used to do was I used to go to the roof every day 1 hour and used to talk to myself in English. I was not very good at making the sentences at that time. So I used to hear and I would sense, does this sound okay or not okay? It doesn't sound okay. What are the alternate ways I can communicate what I want to communicate in a different way? So it was hit and trial, and I used to try those sentences in the college, and then slowly I picked up and learned all those things. That was a time-consuming exercise, although I picked up everything eventually. But now with ChatGPT, it is much easier and faster. You can have the grammar and syntax correction because you're thinking, this is what I want to write, this is what I want to say. You give this thing to ChatGPT, it will automatically proofread and it will tell you, hey, this is the wrong thing, this is how you can write this thing, this is the alternate thing. It can give you the suggestions on the sentence structure, it can give you the suggestions on punctuations, how you can improve the readability, how to properly use the punctuation, and all those things. So this is one part, grammar and syntax correction. Second, you can enhance your vocabulary. Sometimes, you feel you want to say something, but it has to be a very fancy word or a very sophisticated word so that it makes a very good impact. So ChatGPT gives you the vocabulary suggestions as well. You can express yourself with the right word precisely and very eloquently, saying, this is what I want to communicate. It can make the recommendations around the synonyms. Sometimes, we use a very laymanish word, whereas you need very sophisticated words. So it can come up with the synonyms, say, you could use this, you could use this, you could use this. And sometimes, we tend to repeat the word again and again, and it can come up with the suggestions, hey, use this synonym here, use this synonym here, so that it doesn't look repetitive, and likewise. And interestingly, it understands the context. If you're writing a business letter versus you're writing a diary note, those are two different contexts. You need different language, what vocabulary you should use, and likewise, the ChatGPT will give you all those suggestions. Third thing is you can practice the exercises, especially on the English side. I mean, you learn the grammar, you read about it, you read all those things, but only when you do the things, you become better. So you can ask for the practice questions from ChatGPT and it will give you the questions. It could be around sentence completion. It could be writing the prompts on various topics. You can have the dialogue practice. As I said, for interview preparation, you can use the dialogue practice. Should I say this thing, or what is the better way to say this thing? And it will give you all those kind of suggestions. So that's another way how you can utilize ChatGPT. Okay, a quick time check. It's 7:49. I may not be able to give you a live demonstration, but I'll ask you to try this once we are done with this session. And let me first tell you the story behind this. Read this quote. It says, a dead body has been found hanging from a rose plant. Don't ask me why, but why does the police rule out the suicide? When GPT-2 was out, this particular sentence was given to ChatGPT to get a response. And ChatGPT came up with uh, three different hypotheses saying why police ruled out the suicide without understanding the context that nobody can actually find a human body hanging from a rose plant because rose plant is a shrub. But ChatGPT was not smart enough at that time to understand it. But it tried to, give the answers, logically correct answers, why police ruled out the suicide. Just like kids, you give a scenario and you say, why is this thing? They will put all their brains and come up with the logical explanation. This could happen, could have happened, this could have happened, this could have happened, leaving out the very intricate detail that rose plant is so small that nobody can actually commit a suicide there, right? But with time, they understand the real world, and likewise. And ChatGPT is now becoming smarter and smarter, understanding the context more deeply and giving you the logical answer. So if you were to ask this question to ChatGPT 4.0 now, it will automatically say, hey, this is not possible because rose plant is so small, a human cannot actually commit a suicide there. So this was just to show you how ChatGPT has evolved over the time. You should also try this thing. Then I spoke about the prompt engineering. So this is very, very important. If you're going to use ChatGPT for whatever purpose you want to use, writing the right prompt is very, very important. And I'll give you 5 tips. What is that you need to have in the prompt? While this is a vast subject and we have dedicated courses on prompt engineering, but if you follow these 5 things, you will be able to write wonderful prompts which will suffice your purpose. First, you have to give the AI an identity. You can say act as my teacher, or act as a recruiter, or act as my friend, or act as my wife. I mean, that would be risky if you're married and asking wife. Uh, the responses could be very varied, but you can always tell that this is what I want you to be. Once you give this identity, then ChatGPT will assume that role and give you the responses accordingly. You can say, ChatGPT, act as my lawyer or act as a legal advisor, and then it will start thinking and giving you the responses from the legal perspective. Then you should add the tone. Once you've given the identity, tell the tone, whether you want, I mean, if you are an expert, or if you are a teacher, if you are an empathetic teacher, or you're curious, or you want ChatGPT to be funny, if you give that tone, it will then start responding you back in that tone itself. Okay. You can also, set the tone like be cartoonish, be mystical, be quite bright. So it will accordingly, fine tune and tailor the responses accordingly. Then always give the background text, because ChatGPT does not know the situation what you are going to use this ChatGPT for. So giving that background text, and you don't have to worry about that it has to be free flowing and it has to be chronological order. Whatever you have, give that information to ChatGPT. Give the background in whatever way you want to give the background. For example, if you're going to respond to an email to the customer, you should always say, this is my customer, this is what I want, this is what customer has written, this is what I want to respond, and this is what I want to communicate. Can you draft a appropriate response in a very formal and professional language, etc., etc. And it will give you the uh, response back in that context, a very coherent answer. Then if your response has to be suited with the length, then you should direct that, put that into the instructions that I need a response in 100 words, or I need this thing to be written in 4 paragraphs, or I have this restriction of character count, especially for writing the tweets. You can always say, write a tweet for me in so many characters, excluding the hashtags, etc., etc., and it will give you the response with those limits into mind. And if you're not sure if you have given enough information, you can always ask the AI to ask more questions if they need some more information to draft a response back to you. And this is very relevant when you're using this for writing novel or writing thesis, or you're writing a research paper, or you're writing a journal article, all those things. You give the information what you have, and you always put a prompt: hey, ask me anything that you need more to make this complete. And if there is a information that is missing, it will always come back and say, hey, this is what I need. If you have this information, give me, else I'll give you the answer without this information. And this was very useful when I was drafting a MOU for one of the companies, and I didn't specify the period. And I always put that prompt that if you need any more information, just ask me. And it came back saying, you didn't specify the duration of this MOU. Do you want me to put any number? If yes, please specify. If not, I'll prepare the response accordingly. Wonderful tool. So keep these five things in mind, and you should be able to write good prompts. Not the best, but the good prompts. Give an identity, add a tone, add a background, have the length of the response, and lastly, ask AI to ask you questions if they need any. So that's a 2-year course that I have shown you on one slide, how to write the prompts. Now, hands-on practice, since we are short of time, I'll encourage you to do these three things when you go and sit in front of ChatGPT. Try to generate a blog post. Try to have a role play with the customer service interaction. And you can create the scenario that you have bought. Let's say you have bought a toaster, uh, or you are the customer representative, and the customer bought a toaster and it was not working well, and it burnt the toast and want to return. How do you handle that interaction? So you can do role playing there. And you should also try the language enhancement exercises. Give a particular paragraph that you have written, feed to ChatGPT and ask to, enhance this language as a renowned author, or as a scientist, or as a researcher, or as a company CEO. So you will see the variety of the language that they will come up with. What a scientist would say, what a researcher would say, what a CEO would say, and likewise. I'll take a pause. If you have any of the questions, please post. Now, we have few more slides to cover, and we can continue later. Any questions? Moon, I haven't checked the chat. Is there any question on the chat?
No, I don't think so. I have a question. So
Yes.
basically, recently, while I was writing my own paper, research paper, so I was taking help from ChatGPT, like sometimes for research, like rephrasing the, like the paragraphs and all, like which I
Mm,
have just taken the notes and all. So while doing that, I found one thing, that it is continuously like learning from my own, like from my inputs. Correct.
mhm,
So when I am doing the AI search, like the AI check of my paper, I am getting lots of the things which are coming from AI, but which actually, like I researched and kind of just rephrase it in the Chat GPT.
mhm.
So it is kind of fine tuned itself with my own inputs, and then it become very risky for me actually.
Yes, it happens, and there is a way around to do this thing. ChatGPT uses this reinforcement learning. Reinforcement learning is risk and reward model. It's just like when we were kids, we also learned in the same fashion, risk and reward. And I'll give you an example to understand what this risk and reward model is. Um, uh, Imagine you are a small kid, and you have a crush. Assume I am a small kid and I have a crush on a girl in my class. I go and tell this to my mom. Hey, I have a crush on that girl, some XYZ. What is that I am going to expect? I was expecting that mom will be happy that I have a girlfriend, I have a crush, and all those things. Instead, I get a tight slap. This is the age to study and not to focus on girls. Okay. Then I tell this to my father. Hey, this is what is happening. Again, get a tight slap. Focus on studies and not on girls. Whereas if I share this information to my best friend, the reaction would not be the same. Reaction would be, hey, now you have a girlfriend and I also have a girlfriend. Hey, great, etc. And all those things. He'll participate into that. Now, if a similar situation happens later, do you think I will go and tell this to my mom and to my father that I have another girl, another crush now? Because I know what is that I can expect from them. So instead of sharing with them, I go and share with my friend, and he gets excited and happy. So I have learned it. Where is the risk? Where is the reward? That is the reinforcement learning. It's a simple example, and all the kids use this risk and reward model, and that is why kids tend to speak lies, because they see a huge risk sharing or revealing this information there. Instead, they will share elsewhere, right? Although it's a psychological problem that needs to be addressed, it's a social problem that needs to be addressed. But I'm bringing this because reinforcement learning is like this. So when you are giving the feedback to ChatGPT, yes, it is learning, but it is not learning enough. So what you need to do is your original writing. You have to feed that original writing, at least 10 such paragraphs you feed to ChatGPT and say, this is my writing style. Paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, and 10 paragraphs you have fed. So you have done, there is a term called, which is called few shots learning. Okay. You teach ChatGPT that this is my writing style. And then you put the prompt and say, I need the response in my writing style. So your responses, rather than being very formal, professional, like a researcher, instead it will be in your language, your writing style. Then you will find your plagiarism or AI detection will go down. That is
Mm.
one way. Second way is, whenever ChatGPT is giving you the prompts, and some of the things you can't see, although it is all text based, each sentence has some special characters at the end. When you run through the same content through the AI detection tools, they tend to find these characters and figure out, hey, this is generated from ChatGPT. Hey, this is generated from Gemini. This is generated from Copilot, and likewise, because those special characters are there. What we do, we simply copy and paste. All those characters get pasted and it gets caught. If you read those sentences and type it again, you will find your plagiarism content or the AI detection content has gone down further, right? So those are some of the few ways that you can reduce. Anyway, for research purposes, I do not encourage that you should use ChatGPT. Instead, understand the content and write it in your language. That's the best way to do it. In that way, you get a very good hold of the research topic as well. Hope that answers your question, Manman.
Yeah, actually, I learned something new today, like feeding my own writing style and getting response on that.
Yes. Yeah. That's called few shot learning. I recommend 10 paragraphs at least. If you have more, if you have written previously, we used to write essays when we did 10th, 12th, although the entire scenario is changing with new education. They tend to not write long answers, but objective questions. But if you have any of the writings previously, you had written poems, if you had written previous articles, blogs, essays, you have it, feed it so that it learns your writing style and then it starts mimicking your writing style.
That was really kind of, I will try that.
Yeah, yeah, you should try.
That-
The
yeah.
ChatGPT is wonderful. We have to just find ways how to utilize it the best. All right, if there are no more questions, I'll quickly run through a few more slides.
Yeah, yeah, Dr. Nitin. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so these are some of the best practices. I mean, I haven't listed all, but I've listed only 8. Uh, Always, whenever you're using ChatGPT, have the clear prompts, have very specific and clear instructions. This is what you want. More specific and more clear you are, better the responses would be. Don't give ambiguous statements. Don't give broad prompts. Very precise. What is that you want? मुझे चाय के अंदर 1 चम्मच चीनी चाहिए. Like that. Then always set the context. Having the context is very, very important. And I'll give you an example. I am going to take one session as part of the faculty development program in one of the institutes in Greater Noida. So although there is a lot, many things to tell about me, right from my birth to this date, I've done so many things. So I gave all that information to ChatGPT. And then I said, this is the context. I have been invited as a speaker to take this session on this topic and on certain date at this time. This is my audience profile. Write me a short brief about my profile that I can share with them, rather than talking about any of the information. Since I am from the IT background and I've done so many projects, rather than talking about those projects, it brings what is relevant for a speaker to give a talk on that particular topic, and it gives you the fantastic answers. So setting the context is very, very important. You should set the context. Whatever you are asking for, give the context. It's just like taking the help from your assistant. Until unless assistant knows what the situation is, they may not be able to help you out. Then don't expect the answers to come out the first time, right? ChatGPT is also learning, and you are also learning. You haven't mastered the art of prompt engineering. So there will be refinement in iterations. In the initial, when I started using ChatGPT, I used to take 7 or 8 iterations. Every time I didn't find the answer, I used to improve the prompt. Okay, some better answer, but still it is lacking this. Further improve it. So I had 8 to 9 iterations for a single piece of work. Now it is much better. Hardly 2 iterations, maximum 3 that I have seen, but I'm able to get the answer. So refinement through iterations is very, very important. Use it to the best. Then experimentation and exploration. You may not know ChatGPT can do this thing, so experiment. Always experiment and see what is that ChatGPT is going to recommend, and always explore what else this can do. Try different writing styles, try different tones, different topics, have the creative exploration, have bring the innovativeness in all those things. So always try and experiment. Then monitoring and supervision is very, very important. Always monitor your responses and make sure it is aligning to your goals and the intentions. As I said, it may tend to hallucinate when it does not have the information. So don't 100% rely on ChatGPT response. Always read and see this is what you want. And if there are any errors, if there are any biases, if there are any inappropriate content, you should always give the feedback to ChatGPT. Hey, stop using this. Hey, this is not correct, etc. And I'll give you an example. And Munmun, just to on the similar lines as you said for research, I was actually writing a journal article, and I needed some context from ChatGPT. And I said, ChatGPT, give me the context in India perspective and give me the examples as well. And it wrote a beautiful 4 paragraph content. And it also gave me the citations, and it also gave me the examples, etc. And when I went to check the citations, I figured out it was all hallucinating. There was no citation like that. I tried to click on the URL to figure out, hey, if this is the right URL. Doesn't find. It gave me the citation that this is what was written. I tried to search over the internet, nothing is available. Then it gave me some examples of some Indian firm XYZ is doing this, and I did a internet research and figured out there is no XYZ. So it hallucinates. So I gave the feedback to the chat GPT. Next time I ask a question, do not bring in the information that is not factual, and bring me that is authenticated, and verify the URL before you share with me. You would be amazed to see the responses changed drastically. Now it brings me all the information that is factually correct, and it gives me the citation which actually leads me to the actual paper rather than just hallucinating. So some of those things have to be continuously monitored and told to ChatGPT, hey, stop doing this, please do this, continue do this, all those things. Then comes the ethical consideration. While we can use ChatGPT for good purposes, it's actually a double-edged sword. You can use it for good purposes. You can also use it for bad purposes. So you have to know whether you are doing the ethical stuff or you're not doing the ethical stuff. Okay, you can actually generate the content which can be very harmful. It can actually spread the misinformation if you're not monitoring it well, and it can actually violate the data privacy and confidentiality as well. So you have to be very careful when you are using such powerful tools. And I'll briefly talk about the ethical considerations in the further slide as well. Then collaboration and the community engagement is very important. Whatever you have figured out, always share with the community so that you also learn from the community what are the best practices, and you can collectively improve the use of ChatGPT. For example, I shared how to stop the hallucination. Next time you're doing this, please follow that so that you don't get the hallucinated information, but you get the factually correct information. And lastly, use it for continuous learning and improvement. You can learn a lot from ChatGPT. But unfortunately, as we get more and more tools handy, we tend to rely on those tools rather than learning from those tools. I remember when I wrote my first research paper way back in 1997, no, 1998, I wrote my first paper. I used to sit into the library, scan through the journals, figure out what is the right paper, get a photocopy from the library, and then handwrite it and then type it and do all those things. But when the internet came in, I no longer do all those things. I just read the abstract, I just see the conclusion. Okay, this paper is relevant. Keep it in my folder. I don't read the entire paper because we are so much relying on this information, because we are so casual. Oh, this information is available there, right? With chat gpt, I know the answers will be there. I may not actually even try to read the abstract in the conclusion. I may feed all those papers and say, hey, tell me what is the relevant paper, give me the crux, give me the summary and all those things. I need this for another journal article. It will do all those things. So but that's not correct. Continuous learning should always be there. The objective should be to learn, use it as a tool that will enhance your capability rather than replacing you. All right, so this is the ethical consideration that I was talking about. One, the responsible use is very important. It has to align with the ethical principles, the legal regulations. Make sure you're not violating anybody's rights, be it data privacy, etc., and all those things. And you should not engage in any of those activities which may cause harm, or it can send wrong information, or it can bring in the discrimination and all other things, right? Although ChatGPT was accused of having the racial discrimination, it was discovered about 2 years 3 years back that it was racially discriminating, but then that it was corrected. As users, we have to responsibly use it. Respect user privacy. The data privacy is very important, and now the stringent rules are coming in India itself. We have DPDP Act, and interestingly, Modi ji has announced that for creating the social media channels, now the parents' consent has to be taken. All those things are coming in because people are not respecting the user privacy and all those things. Chat GPT, we have to be extra careful. We should avoid the misuse. Don't use it to manipulate somebody. Don't use it for deceiving somebody. Don't engage in the fraudulent activities. Instead, use it for communication assistant, language learning, content generation, the thousand of constructive work that you can do. Then transparency and accountability. It's a big topic that is being discussed all across the world. It was one of the agenda in the G20 summit as well. How do we bring transparency and accountability, right? If um, I'll not give you that example, but um, use it in the right way, because it can have unintended consequences if not used properly. And lastly, the continuous evaluation and improvement. Whenever you're using such tools, keep a check on that. Is it behaving normal? Is it giving the right information? Whether it is creating any kind of discriminations? Is it violating the ethical thing? While you may not intend to do this thing, but the tool may actually be doing this. If you find this, make sure you're using it accordingly and not misusing it. All right, so this is almost the end of the session, and this is the future of AI in communication, right? NLP is advancing like anything. A lot of research and development is going on. ChatGPT is just one, and then these LLM models are becoming larger and larger. The largest model that we have is 70 billion parameters, but that is not available for general use. The general use that is available is around 7 billion parameters. With quantum computing coming in, 6G coming in, 5G coming in, the things are going to advance drastically, and it will become as sophisticated as you can think of. It will have much better understanding, much human-like text generation, and likewise. Now, the integration of multimodal capabilities is the next. OpenAI also announced that they are bringing the multimodal capabilities, which means image, voice, even gestures, haptic feed, all those things will be incorporated. And Gemini did this wonderfully. You can just feed a picture into it and ask the questions about it. And one of the video that was making a buzz on the internet was uh, somebody wanted to replace the seat of their bicycle, and it just click the picture and feed it to the Gemini model, and Gemini model came back with the entire step-to-step process: what to order, how to take the seat out, how to put the seat back, etc. Just one image, and it did all of that thing. Then personalization and contextual understanding. As you would see, personalization is the strongest point of ChatGPT. It can personalize the responses based upon who's the audience, what is the tone, etc., etc., and it can retain the context. That's the beauty part. So it is now going to be further personalizing as it learns more about you, as it understands the context. And now the feature of cross chat context sharing is also there in ChatGPT. So it's not that in this text you're talking about a certain thing, in other chat you're talking something else. It can now retain the context and understand, "Oh, okay, this was told in that, I may be able to utilize this." So understanding you much better. And the real-time translation and the interpretation is something which is coming in G20 also. When the all the G20 representatives were here, not everyone spoke English, so real-time translation was provided to them. So although Modi ji was speaking in Hindi, they were able to listen in their languages, be it French, German, Russian, real-time translation. And the same thing ChatGPT is also doing. You can have the answers in whatever language you want. Sometimes I need the articles in Hindi or a paragraph in Hindi. I may not have that writing skills of writing in Hindi, but I can always say, "Hey, give me the response in Hindi," and then it will generate the response in Hindi. Or I need a response in Telugu, and it will give you the response in the Telugu. So all those things. Impact is education is going to revolutionize. because of this chat GPT. Community development is going to improve because mass personalization is there. So you can go to the root level people as well in the community development. Then healthcare. Personalization is quite spoken in the healthcare sphere. Personalized medicines are coming, personalized treatments are coming. ChatGPT will play a wonderful role. And since it can hold the conversation, it may be able to take up the role of virtual nurses, virtual ward boys, communicating with you and then communicating with the doctors as well. And lastly, business and customer service. As I said, these are the 24 by 7 available chatbots that can hold the conversation, understand the context, empathize, and give the contextually response to your users. Okay. So that was all. How our NGO can actually help you? We have training programs, we have various resources, and we are giving the ongoing assistance in the education space. In case you need any help from us, you can always reach out to us through these phone numbers. You can visit our website. There is an email ID. That's the easiest way to reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to help you in this. If you want to connect with me, connect with our NGO, please scan this QR code. It will take you to our page. We have various newsletters. In my LinkedIn profile, you will find one newsletter, ChatGPT, although I have discontinued that, but you would find 52 editions of those articles. Wonderful collation. I have now started on generative AI, and it's continuing. And I plan to start the quantum computing somewhere in the second quarter or third quarter of this year. So be connected with us and be aware of all the newer things that are coming in the world. Okay, so that's all from my side. Thank you so much for being a wonderful audience. If you have any of the questions, please do ask now. Okay, so I think we're good.
Yeah, I think you explained so well, Dr. Nitin. So we don't have any questions, but it was a very wonderful and very deep session. I learned something personally, and also I hope that um, audience here have got some insight. So looking forward for more such session from you. So have a
Thank
great
you.
day. Yeah, and have a
All
great
right,
day.
thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone.